Hello, YouTube. I don't have my mic. I don't have enough USB ports for my mic right now, so the sound isn't going to be very good on YouTube, unfortunately. I'm just going to hook into my live on TikTok now. So I have to do YouTube first because it doesn't always work. Sometimes it just won't go live, just spins and doesn't do anything. So, okay. Oops. Hello, Alana Stripe. You've been here before, haven't you, Alana? Whoops, hit the wrong thing here. Just a sec. Bum, 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 bum. Just getting set up here. Okay, so I'm on here. It's nighttime again. It's 8 o'clock at night. I like to mix it up. I was on here this morning, and I like to mix up the times because I get different time zones, right, if I mix it up. So anyway, I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. I'd love to hear where you're from. It's a really nice day today. I think it was supposed to be cloudy, but it was mostly sunny here. So where are you from? And is it sunny or rainy there? East Coast Canada. Well, that's a big area. Where exactly are you from? Hi, Texas. East Coast Canada. Rain. Ooh, sorry about that. Well, I guess that's good back east, eh? Good evening, Oklahoma. Hi, Oklahoma. Anyway, it's interesting. I often talk about how Texas has just been talking to me. Like, I just really want to go down there and check it all out. And then I said, why is that? It just has a different feel to the rest of the states. And people have said that Texas is almost like its own country. It's got a real different way of life or something. I don't know. I got to check it out. Fort McMurray, Alberta. Hi, Fort McMurray. Shop up. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Very hot, 101. That is hot. I lived in Australia for about 20 years, and it was stinking hot. We used to freeze big ice buckets of water in the freezer, and the kids would use those to float as floaties in the pool, just trying to keep, because the pool was too hot to swim in. From Texas, currently living in Mississippi. Well, that's different, isn't it? Dallas, Texas. Yeah, I want to go to Houston, Austin, and Dallas. Not sure when I'm going to do that. When I get some free time. But yeah, I just want to really check it out. New Jersey. Hi, New Jersey. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, I think I'll just get going now. Get started. I mean, I always say, oh, I'll get going now, bye. That's what that sounds like, doesn't it? Anyway, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses. My big course is out now. That's the one that teaches you how to be a calm leader if you have a 3 to 12-year-old, or you can download my free behavior board. That's on my homepage, and it's completely free. Colorado is Seattle right now. Oh, Colorado. You're from Colorado, but you're in Seattle right now. Well, you're right near me. I'm up in Vancouver. Yes, for sure. You'd love it. Texas has the best food. I'm from Houston. It has everything. Yeah, I'm a gluten-free vegan. So if you've got good beans, rice, fruits, vegetables, and seeds, I'm in. That's all I eat. Yeah, I'm boring. But yeah, I should have gone there when I've only been vegan for 8 years now. And I would love to ram my face into a bunch of real great ribs or something, like that just really appeals to me, but I don't eat like that anymore. Maybe one day again. I'm not pro-vegan. I'm just vegan because it works for me now. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Sunny said, I'm so happy to be child-free. LOL. Being a mom sounds stressful. Kiddos and all you. Kudos to all you mamas. Yeah, it was the most fun time of my whole life. But I had a lot of experience in how to get respect with kids before I had my own. So I just kind of sailed right through it. But that's what I'm always trying to impart to all of you, is that parenting can be fun and stress-free. And so, yeah, but it's work. You got to put the work in. You got to earn that. But yeah, once you get respect, maintaining it is easy. But getting it is hard work. You got to work for that. So I teach calm leadership. Okay. I've got friends who don't have any kids, and the only time they say that it's kind of rough is like they see like it's when they because all of my kids are grown up in that. They say they would like this stage, but they didn't want the 20 years before that or the 30 years before that. But they say it'd be really nice to have adult children in your old age, which I can agree. But if you don't want to go through all that first 30 years, then yeah. Okay. What if your 8-year-old has media blackout and breaks the rule? Do you add on during the media blackout? No, you don't keep doing that. Once you're disciplining them, just let other stuff go. Say, oh well, you know, you'll learn or whatever. Don't even give it any thought. Like it's just sometimes you just gotta let stuff go because you're already disciplining for that. Sometimes if they're 9 and over, let's say they're doing something really rotten, like they're hitting people or something, like really rotten. They're 9 years old and they're doing something particularly nasty, not just normal stuff, but you know what I mean, like hurting people and that. And if you say, okay, 20, you say, okay, so you hit someone, your consequence is you have to vacuum the living room. And they say, no, I'm not doing it. And say, okay, well, that's your choice. Then 24-hour media blackout starts now. I hate your guts. I hate, I'm not doing 24-hour media blackout. You're mean. And then I would say something like this. They have to be 9 and over though. This is if they're really like this, really combative and really rude. So I would say, I'll tell you what, I said, if you keep coming at me like this, I'll double it and it'll be 2 days of media blackout. What are you going to do? And then go silent. If they keep coming at you, say, well, that was your choice. 48-hour media blackout starts now and make it happen. I do not like to do that one, but sometimes it's necessary. I don't do that with an 8-year-old because then what are you going to do? You got 2 whole days of nothing you can do to them. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like there's only certain situations that I would use that in, and they have to be like 9 and over. But you've given them warnings. It's all their choice. I always say, if your good, life is good. If your bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of it because I'm your mom. That's my job. So you got to teach them about accountability. I was on my Instagram and I was reading some comments on there. I'm just sort of getting into Instagram. Anyway, one of them said, I can't remember what it was now. How did she word it? Something like, oh, thank God someone's coming up against this, trying to reason with toddlers and trying to reason and discuss big feelings and big emotions. Can you imagine if the police pulled you over and never gave you a ticket, there was never any consequence, but they told you how it hurts their feelings when you speed? Would that really stop you from speeding? It's not the way to go. It just consequences are the way to go. If you do this, that happens. It's teaching accountability. So yeah, and also we're dealing with behavior here, not feelings. When they're acting out, it's behavior that we're dealing with. The feelings are kind of separate from that. And if the feeling is they're just mad because they didn't get their own way, they didn't get what they want, when they want, and how they want it, it's okay to ignore that feeling. Okay? You have 17, 15, 9, and 4. Wow. It's a big age gap. You're busy. This one, I have too many different answers for this one, but I'll read it out and I'll just throw an answer out at you. Okay, how do I get my kids to stop telling on each other, to teach tattling and helping? I would say, look, I don't want any more tattling. As soon as you tattle, there's going to be just no TV for anyone tonight, okay? Because I just don't want to hear it. We'll play games instead or something like that. So it's not really a punishment. It's just, tell you what, if tattling happens tomorrow, there'll be no screens at all, but we'll play family games, okay? You can kind of come at it like a big approach like that. That's one way. That's the blanket approach. But if you've got one kid who's always tattling on the other, you got to make sure you got to figure out what's going on there. Are they tattling for a reason, or are they tattling for attention? Or is that other kid pushing them to tattle so they'll get in trouble? You got to assess it. But if they're all tattling on each other and they're just being a pain in the butt, then I would do that blanket approach and say, I'll tell you what, I don't like tattling. It gets on my nerves. If there's any tattling tomorrow, there's no screens at all. We'll just play games. You're not angry. It's just there's no screens. Hey, look, I just don't want to hear any more tattling. I'm sick of it. What's your opinion on Gentle parenting. I don't comment on that. I comment on a lot of methods that a lot of different people teach, but I've never studied any other parenting method. I am very careful about that. I never have and never will. I've never read a parenting book. I've never read a book on parenting. Why would I? Kids taught me everything I know, and I stay in my lane. I only teach through experience. I'm not here to critique other people who are teaching parenting. Okay. I just don't do that. But I'm very critical of a lot of common methods that are out there, but I don't know who's teaching them. I'm very careful about that. I've been asked to go on panels where different parenting techniques are arguing with each other. Why the heck would I do that? Could you imagine? It's just not what I would do. I feel no need to defend what I teach. You're either going to like it or you're not. And I wouldn't insult other people. And that's what they're asking you to do. Get up there and fight. Yeah, doesn't sound like me at all. Just sit there and go, whatever, do whatever you want. Yeah, I could never do that. Definition of leadership is when kids feel good about themselves and you're the source of that. They want to please you. That's it. Leadership. Bang, done. They feel great about themselves. You're the source of that because you're a good leader. Therefore, they want to please you. You kind of want to please them too. It's a mutual thing. You see? They feel great about themselves because of your leadership. Therefore, they want to please you. And then when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. But it's kind of mutual too. I would have been devastated if my kids criticized my mothering, or I would have been devastated. It was important to me that they thought highly of me, just like I thought highly of them. It's mutual. What do you do when the tantrum won't stop? Well, you just keep ignoring it. It'll stop. What do you mean won't stop? You mean it goes for like 17 days in a row? Like, it'll stop. Okay. I get beyond overwhelmed. I've tried every day to work on this. I nearly lose it. You might want to hire me. The behavior board is sort of, it's a suggestion on how you get started. But if you really want help learning how to be a leader, there's a lot more to it. The behavior board is just a teaching tool I start with, but it's probably 10% of what I do. So you might want to hire me if you're really struggling. How do we hire you? Go on bratbusters.com. It's my website. Look up coaching. And I have a full course now, which includes group coaching. And I have found, much to my shock, I can't believe this, but their results, so long as they're not in crisis, are really going insane. If you need that one-on-one nurturing kind of stuff, that's one-on-one coaching. But if you don't need that, if you're not really emotionally charged and then the course, they're getting the same results. That is private as one-on-one coaching, which I didn't see that coming. But yeah, anyway, it's going really well. So there you go. This stuff on my website. 2-year-old. Yeah, 2-year-olds wield a lot of power with new parents. They just do. Once you've had a kid or two, the toddlers have zero power over you, generally. You go, oh yeah, they're just crazy. 30-minute tantrum? Yeah. Super common. That's about average. Yeah. But it usually lasts a long time when they know that you're getting upset. If you're ignoring it, there's a classic, where did I put that? I posted that somewhere. It's a very old video. It's about 10 years old. Oh no, it was I have a private Facebook group for the course people. It's on there. And it was this old video about a 1.5-year-old was throwing himself on the ground, having a fit. And the mother was just ignoring him, walking from room to room. And the camera was on him. And they showed him, as soon as the mom was out of sight, he'd stop crying, get up, look for her. As soon as he spotted her again, he'd throw himself on the ground. So it's just to get attention, right? They don't ever have tantrums if there's no one around. It's like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? That makes no sense at all. But you get what I'm saying. If there's no one around, they're not going to have it. So it's just for attention. The longer it goes on, the more that says to me that it must have worked in the past. So must have got attention. Attention is tantrum food. Trying to get my 8-year-old to read, not interested at all. I'll get back to that. Do you work with kids who are beyond their age group? What do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know. Okay, so that's Sammy. I'll try and keep an eye out for the answer there. Trying to get my 8-year-old to read, not interested at all. Just have an incentive. Say, of course you can go on the iPad as soon as you read out loud to me for 10 minutes. You see? So it just have it like that, like have an incentive to read. Don't just say you have to read or else. Don't put, I wouldn't put a consequence on that. I would just say, well, sure, we can get going, but you have to read out loud to make it 5 minutes, make it really doable. And they have to read out loud to you. And they may never like reading. I don't think most adults read anymore. I know I don't. I used to love reading. You know how long it takes me to get through a book now? It's horrible. It's embarrassing. I didn't read a book probably for 10 years when my kids were growing up. And now I'm trying to read a book. I was going to say a book a week. I might get through a book a month right now if I'm lucky, maybe one a year. So yeah, he may never like it, but he has to learn how to do it for school and that. I used to be a prolific reader back in the day, before YouTube came out. When they're around the age of 2, is it more so about teaching right from wrong? Yeah, it is. But what it is it's not, they don't choose to do the right thing. Okay. It's not like this is the right thing. This is what I'm going to do. It's that if I do the wrong thing, mom knows how to take care of business. That's what my kids would have said. Like, it's not so much that they're going to go, what's the right thing and what's the wrong thing? Because I must do the right thing. My kids would have gone, I've got 2 decisions here. One is great. The other one, mom's going to take care of business. So you see what I'm saying with that? Like, just make sure there's a consequence. I was there to teach them, hey, it's all up to you. You do whatever you want. But I'll be here to make sure there's a consequence if you make a bad decision. That was my job. So yeah, it's not so much teaching them right from wrong, because we already know that you're not supposed to speed right down the freeway, but we still do it unless there's a consequence. We still do the wrong thing sometimes, right? So yeah, it is, but it's not that simplistic. It's more about, there's 2 ways of doing this. There's that way, which life will be easy, or mom will make sure life ain't so great if I do the other way. That's your power. Yeah, if a toddler cries for everything and I say no, just ignore. Yeah, absolutely. I want this. No, you can't have that right now. Yeah. I'd be looking at my nails. There's no way I wouldn't get any attention at all. Okay. Hello, Desi Campbell. Such a neat name, Desi. Behavior board tips when 2 out of 4 of the fam can't read. Oh, pictures. Draw pictures. Like bedtime, draw a picture of a clock. So yeah, draw pictures. And you're discussing this with the kids. They can draw the pictures out. So they can actually draw a picture of a bed or draw a picture of whatever they have to do or whatever. And then you can just glue that onto the behavior board. So they don't have to write right on the behavior board. They can do like a little art project. So yeah, pictures. I understand that my 2-year-old is always like, let's make mommy upset. Well, that's because he can. There's the power. There's no way a 2-year-old could make me upset. That's the power. You see? That's why they do it. It's very powerful to see an adult get upset. It's very empowering. So yeah, if they were up against me, they'd go, well, there's no point because she's not going to get upset. You see? It's just, they wouldn't do it. Wouldn't even think about it. How can I handle teenagers that fight over everything? Yeah, you got to hire me for that. Teenagers is all coaching. I don't know what kind of parent you are. I don't know the relationship they have, the relationship you have, what their lifestyle's like, what kind of rules you have around the house. How did you used to parent? How did you transition into the teen years? It changes in the teen years. Yeah, I need context around teenage stuff. Nothing's a straight answer with teenagers. And even with young ones often, like I was working with sisters. One hired me, then the other one hired me. And they were comparing notes. I never said the same thing to either one of them ever because they needed to hear different things. So when those were younger kids, so one-on-one coaching is very personal and teens is almost always coaching. So if you want my help, you have to hire me for that. That's on my website, bratbusters.com. It's all in my bio. Well, how do you correct a 3-year-old that screams? Ignoring him makes me go deaf. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It just says they don't respect you. You got to work on your leadership skills. And you just pick one rule per week. Who was I? I was reading something about that today. Was it an email? Just gonna look it up. It was really well worded, and they were asking me about that, and they were saying, it's fine to say ignore, but if they're screaming all day, what do you do? Sugar. Just a sec here. Everything's slow when I'm doing a live. No, it's not there. Okay, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Get the behavior board. Start one rule per week. It's going to take a while. You're going to have to go through some really rough times. And they're going to get worse before they get better, because they're like, you think you're going to be in charge after I've been in charge for the last couple of years? Good luck with that. That's what they're thinking. So yeah, it's going to be hard, but it's worth it. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow. Lisa, what's your best tip for parenting? Solve all my problems today. I'm like, yeah, that ain't going to happen. It's a process. It takes time. It's like dieting or anything that's worth it. It takes time. It's at least 3 weeks before you start to see results. Except a couple of things are like pretty much one night. Bedtime battles is usually one night. What can I do when my 18-month-old throws toys when he's done playing? Just put that toy away and make sure he can see it though. So put it away and you say no, and then you put it away. Don't say no throwing, no, just one word, no. He'll get it. He'll get it. If he throws it away because he's going to go for the next toy, I would put them both away. So he's finished playing with one toy. He's only 18 months old. He's still kind of a baby. But he's going to throw one toy because he wants to go on to the next. When he throws it, say no. But you got to be fast though. It's got to be right in the moment. It's consistent corrective action right in the moment. You can't let it go. You can't think, well, I'll just finish doing this first and then I'll go deal with it. You can't do that. As soon as he throws it, you say no. And then you go take that toy and take the next one away that he was going for. Put them both away where he can see them. And let him have a fit. Let him learn. He'll learn. He'll learn. It's just the way it is. Don't do those many therapy sessions. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. You shouldn't throw. That's not nice. It upsets mommy. No, don't do that. I'm begging you. Please. They're my nemesis. It's just I deal with this all day, every day with parents, is these mini therapy sessions. Had a lot of that lately in my coaching. Work with any parents with kids on the spectrum? Absolutely. But that's only coaching. That's a specialty. I do a lot. I don't discuss this stuff, but I really started my business on crisis work. A lot of abuse, as everything you can imagine, and dealing with a lot of crisis stuff. And I specialize in troubled teens. But I don't discuss all that stuff on here. I keep this kind of rosy and cute, just tantrums and stuff like that. But yeah, the other stuff isn't really appropriate to discuss on here because it's specialized and I need context around it. And every child on the spectrum is different. They react to different things. So we throw mud at the wall, and then the next week we check and see what did and didn't work. And I need to know what is working and what isn't. There's just a lot of stuff around it. Anyway, yeah, I deal with that. How to deal with teenagers that are 16 and 18 and want to make grown-up decisions. Well, they should be able to. And want to make well, that's a broad question. What do you mean? They want to I don't know what you mean. They want to make grown-up decisions. Like what decisions are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. It's too broad. It's like, what about when teenagers want to grow up too fast? I need a specific question. Instead of saying that makes mommy mad, just say no. Don't say that makes mommy. They don't give a crap. That upsets mommy. They don't give a crap. That's for you. That's not for them. That's that. Find your inner adult and listen to me. It upsets other people. That is just garbage. That is not for them. That is for you. I know it's trendy right now, but it drives me freaking insane. It is completely soothing the mother. She thinks that she's doing this nurturing thing. It has nothing to do with your child. It's all about you. It's not for your child, that stuff. It is not. They're all about actions, consistent corrective actions for toddlers. That upsets mommy. They're looking at you. They're thinking, I don't give a crap. It's all they're thinking. They have no concept of that. Do you respond to DMs? I don't even know what those are. I mean, I know they're direct messages, but are those on here? I've never seen one on here. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to find one. So obviously I don't. The best way to get a hold of me is email. And my email, everything, it's on my website. Everything's on my bio there. But I don't know anything about TikTok or anything. And my daughter actually looks after my Instagram because I'm just kind of getting going on there. And she said, look, I put a direct message in there for you. It took me a half hour to figure out how to find a direct message on Instagram. After I found it, I answered the message, and then I couldn't find it again. I thought, oh, that wasn't so bad, and I couldn't find it again. So yeah, don't do DMs with me on here. I'll never find it, and I'll go nuts trying to find it. If you say I got left a DM, don't do that to me. I'm 62 years old. I'm amazed I'm even on here. You should see me. Oh, you know, an old person, you know how they sometimes I'll see someone older than me even, and they're in a cafe or something, and this is how they're using their phone. Instead of using their thumbs, they're doing it like that. And every so often I'll catch myself doing that and I'll think, stop that, you look old. So then I'll go back to this. But yeah, I mean, you know, we're just old. I mean, there's certain things that just don't come naturally to us. Uh, Kids 3 and 5 keep hitting and scratching each other when mad. How to stop it? You got to separate them. You're gonna have to get involved in that. You're gonna have to separate them. Plus, there's usually an antagonist, and parents usually get it wrong. It's often the younger one antagonizing the older one. So you got to figure out who is the one antagonizing. You got to figure that out, because oftentimes people will hire me and say, "Oh God, the older one's always beating up the younger one," and blah blah blah. And I'll say, "Well, tell me how that starts." And they'll tell me, and I'll say, "No, that's not what's going on. The younger one's pushing the older one's buttons." So you got to check it out, figure out what's going on, and then you got to assess it, and then you got to go from there. If you want my help with all that, it's a little bit of a process, because you don't want it to continue, but you also don't want to target the wrong kid. There usually is one. Oh, any tips on leaving binkies? You mean, is that just a dummy, or is it a little blanket and teddy bear? Is it just anything soothing? Is that a binky? I always thought a binky was like a blanket. But anything soothing like that, yeah, bag it up, have the kid put it in the outside wheelie bin and say bye bye, and it's gone, because you're a big kid now, and then just suffer through whatever happens. I did that with my son with dummies, and he was 1.5. And the only reason I let him have it that long was because we did a big overseas trip. We lived in Australia and we went to Canada. We had like a 24-hour trip to Canada. Oh, it was a nightmare. He didn't sleep through 24 hours, 18 months old. Did I mention he didn't sleep for 24 hours? Anyway, thank God I left it. I made sure he still was using the dummy. So we get home after that big trip, and we have jet lag in that, but I bag up all the dummies and I have him put them in the wheelie bin. And then I'm like this, oh, I've got jet lag and I'm going to go through hell, because he had tantrums. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to go for hell. He never asked for one once, not once, because he knew once mom did something, that was it. But still, he still would have a tantrum usually. But no, he didn't. Sometimes he'd go like this, and then, but as soon as he'd go like that, he'd look at me, and I'd look away like I didn't notice. He never once asked for it. That was just a fluke. Is that going to work? I don't know. That was a fluke. I would not have expected it to work that well. But yeah, make it final. And because when I did say something, it happened. And he was really little, but he was kind of learning my ways. When Dad said something, he knew he probably would have cried for Dad, because he thought Dad might give in. But he already knew kind of that when Mom said something, it was going to happen. Well, how to deal with defiant teenager or borderline personality disorder. Are you just throwing that out there? Is that because it's not really a medical diagnosis. It's like ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. It's just a label. So is it just because you're not a good leader? That's usually the case. If you've got a defiant teenager, it's usually because you're not a good leader. You're usually lecturing too much, trying to control them too much, and you're not close to them. That's usually what causes that. So am I on the mark there, or do they have some medical issues? Anyway, if you want my help, teenage stuff's almost always coaching. So 3-year-old ignoring me and walking away. So like, I need context around that. Do you need them to not ignore you? Like, I don't know what you mean by that. Well, 1.5-year-old cries when I take something away. This is new. How do I be a leader here? Usually, when you just got a 1.5-year-old, it's still kind of a baby. When you take something away, you usually replace it with something else. So, okay, we're putting this toy away, and here's the book. So, it's sort of like that. But you gotta be sure of yourself when you're doing it. You can't just go, okay, can I have that? Can mommy please have that? You see, I wouldn't do it like that. I would say, okay, we're going to read a book now. So I need to take this away. And then I would just take it and read the book. And I'm very good at diverting. Oh, and look at this. Wow, look at this. Sort of like make the next thing look really engaging. Um, but you got to, once you say, I'm taking that away, you got to do it. You got to follow through with stuff. The secret is don't say something unless you're ready to follow through with it. So it's not like you just spurt something out and then say, oh, now I have to follow through. And even though it's the wrong thing, think before you speak. So when you say something's going to happen, make it happen. How do we stop hitting in a 2-year-old? I actually have a whole course on that. It's a little mini niche course. It's toddlers who hit, etc. And that's on my website, bratbusters.com. But you just say no and make sure there's a consistent corrective action. You do that with 1 and 2-year-olds. 3-year-old, you can put it on the behavior board. But the toddlers, 1 and 2-year-olds, learn through consistent corrective actions. They don't learn through words. They don't learn through consequences. It's in the moment, consistent corrective actions, because they only learn through repetition. They're not going to learn the first 10 or 50 times, probably the 100th time. And even then, they're going to try it again, maybe next week. You've got to be consistent with this stuff. So just pick one behavior per week that you want to correct, and because that's all you're going to have the energy for. Advice for special needs parents. I don't have any. I don't know what your special needs is. Is your child deaf, blind, have severe behavioral disorders, physically disabled? I don't know. All the advice is different. I work with a lot of special needs kids, but they're different with every single family. One thing I know is you try not to single them out and try not to give them special treatment. They want to be treated like everybody else, but you have to make adjustments, right? So yeah, if you want my help with that, you'd have to hire me because that's, more involved. How can I learn time management? I'm working and studying part-time. Son is 5. This is difficult for me because a lot of my clients are working full-time. They might have 4 kids. They have this and that. And they say, I have no time at all to parent. What can I do? And I say, well, parenting actually does take some time. So you have to find some time. So what I suggest you do is, let's say you're struggling. Well, I don't know your situation. I don't know your hours. But like recently I was working with someone who just had no time at all. And I said, here's your rule, is every time when you come home just before dinner, you have to, what was it? I think they had to play hide and seek with the kids for 5 minutes right before dinner. 5 minutes and they put the timer on, 5 minutes of hide and seek. They couldn't believe the difference that made with the kids because it's in their world. You're showing them that you care enough to play with them in their world for 5 minutes every single day. If you can't find 5 minutes every single day to parent, I can't really help you. You have to be able to find some time, but also get systems in place, all sorts of systems. Start with 1 per week, though. Like bedtime routine, mealtime routine, school morning routine, systems. Start 1 per week. Make your life easier. A child afraid of thunder? Yeah, I don't blame them. Not much you can do about that. I remember as a kid, I used to like it. And then I moved to Australia, and I'd never heard or seen storms like that. We had hailstones that were, the body shops loved hail because these things would come down, and they were like, oh, how big were they? They would have been like big hunks, like maybe not quite about baseball size. Yeah, maybe tennis ball. There you go, tennis ball size. And so, yeah, I didn't like thunder then because we had to race around to make sure we got everything inside or else it'd just be torn to shreds. So then I was afraid of the thunder in Australia. But yeah, I can't help you with that one. Perhaps try earmuffs on them, music or something. But yeah, I don't really blame them. Like they might have really sensitive ears. Oops. Oh, sorry. I can't hire you, but you could just be my kid's grandma. We need you. I got my own grandkids coming now. Uh, Yeah, I just did a video on that. I can't imagine grandparenting being anywhere near as fun as parenting because you have to hand them back. I would hate that. Get all attached and can I have my baby back? No. I loved mothering. I had no family. I had no breaks at all. I loved it. I didn't have to hand my kids over to anybody. It was great. Yeah, I'll let them go. I'll let them have their kids, I guess. Screen time. Okay, screen time management. There's three different ways of dealing with it. There's only one that I like. I'll tell you the first two in case you like them. One is have a set time every single day. So between 7 and 8, that's screen time, and that's it. Or you have 1 hour. You have a certain amount of time every single day. 1 hour a day, whenever you want, when it's doable, right? Not 2 in the morning. The one I like is you say, okay, so we've got, as an example, 10 hours a week of screen time. You decide when that is, as long as it's manageable, right? Like not at dinner time kind of thing. So, and then they're in charge of their own screen time, but you keep track of all the minutes. So if it's 10 hours a week, it might be 5 hours a week or 15. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because I can do the math. 10 times 60 minutes is 600 minutes. So you write out a whole chart with 600 minutes on it and you cross it off. So if they're on for 35 minutes, you cross off 35. Make it a whole thing, like a big system that you've got up in place. If they use it all up in the first 2 days, then that's on them. They don't get anything for 5 days. They'll learn. You don't want to be micromanaging everything. You're just keeping track. They're deciding when to do it. So you just want to start handing over responsibility to your kids. Like I never had to tell my kids what to do. I just gave them responsibilities and let them do it. I didn't micromanage really. And that doesn't include family movie night. So let's say you're having a family movie. That's not part of their screen time. That's family bonding movie time, right? How to minimize whining with toddlers, just ignore it. You say you ask nicely, and and then you show them what nice is. You don't say, "Yeah, I want that." Say, "You don't talk like that." Okay? You say, "May I please have?" Whatever, and then just ignore the whining. They'll learn. Teaching the time management to a 6-year-old, how do I start? Just explain it all. Say you have this many hours per week or this many minutes per week, and then I'm going to be crossing them out and say you're allowed to go on there at a certain time. You can go on there sometime between, I don't know, 6 and 8 at night. They might want to go on for 35 minutes, but 6 is a little bit young to be doing that. Like you don't want to have very much time in there for them to work with. I would say 6 years old, maybe 5, 6 hours a week of screen time. And I'm just going with that. Maybe it's an hour per age, whatever. You decide that that's not really a set. I don't have a set idea of how much screen time they should have. But yeah, and then just let them decide. They might get all excited and watch 6 hours on a Sunday and say, "Well, that's it for the week." They'll learn. You can remind them of that. Say, you have to space it out. You can even draw a picture of it and say, well, you might want to do 1 hour per day, or maybe you want to save it up and have 2 hours on Sunday. So maybe no screen time on Friday. So see how it could work. You could use stickers and all sorts. Parents have come up with some really creative stuff. The more you make it visual, like charts, and the behavior board's a big board, it looks more official. And it's a constant reminder. It's a visual reminder of this too. So time management for tasks. Yeah, TV is a screen. That's media. Any screen is screen management. Time management for tasks. Well, what do you mean by that? You mean that they have done by a certain time? When I would do a chore chart, there's always a time on it. So these chores have to be done before 10 a.m. every day. Even if it's a school day, that covers weekends. So their bed has to be made, their laundry has to be put away, whatever, before 10 a.m. So it includes the weekends. You don't want to have a separate time for the weekends. So that's including school mornings. So they have to have it done before 7:30 or 8 before they go to school, but it has to be done before 10 a.m. So yeah, there's always a time on all this stuff. Always, always. One of my favorites is with teenagers, especially. You always start real small with teenagers because you don't use the behavior board to discipline. You use it to bond with them, to get closer to them. And anyway, so we don't call it a behavior board. We call it an accountability chart. And with teenagers. Anyway, one of my favorite ones, you just start real small. You do something like this with a teenager. You say, look, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. and nowhere else. What do you want from me? So you negotiate, right? So they get to pick your rule, or you negotiate it back and forth. But you put down on the behavior board, dirty clothes go in hamper and nowhere else. Why would I say and nowhere else? Because you don't want the dirty clothes laying on their floor all day and then they put them in the hamper late at night. You see, they can never lay on the floor or on the bed. They come off their body, make sure there's a hamper in their room, and then or a bag that hangs from a door, whatever, make it easy for them. And that, so dirty clothes go in hamper and nowhere else. Do you know what teenagers do? And I'm always ready for this because I know they do this stuff all the time. Anyway, so often if they're real spiteful with their parents, they will not they'll take their dirty clothes off, their stinky gym wear, whatever, they'll take it off, and then they'll take it with them all day long. Let's say it's a Saturday and they're all out with the family and they've got these stinky, dirty clothes. They'll take it in the car. They'll take it at the dinner table. They haven't put them anywhere. They're not breaking the rule. They're trying to get back at you. They're trying to be in charge. So parents say, what should I do when that happens? Like they always say, you won't believe what they did. And I said, oh, did they carry it around all day? How did you know? Because they do this, right? So, and then they say, what should I do? They're sitting at the dinner table with this filthy clothes. I say, you know what I do? I go, well played, well played. Like I love that kind of stuff. They haven't broken a rule. They haven't broken a rule at all. So that's why I love teenagers so much. They're fun. But yeah, so that's why you always are very, very, very specific. Like if they have to do a chore as a punishment, so they broke a rule, so the consequence is they have to vacuum the kitchen, whatever. And you say, you have to vacuum the kitchen as the consequence within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. So as soon as you say, okay, in a few minutes, I'm going to get you to do that, and the 10-minute timer is going to start. So are you ready? And they might be ignoring you. I don't care. You say, okay, so 10 minutes to do the kitchen vacuuming starts now. They're doing nothing. They're telling you off. They're yelling at you from the other room. I don't care. You're just standing there waiting. Beep, beep, 10 minutes is up and say, okay, so that wasn't done. So 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? You see how I didn't say anything when they weren't doing it. I don't care if they do it. I'm actually happy they didn't. There's a better lesson in having to go to that next level. Say, okay, 24-hour media. Okay, I'll vacuum now. It's too late. 24-hour media blackout started 1 minute ago. So you've got 23 hours and 59 minutes left. Do you understand? And then let them have a fit. Let them process that. That's on them. It's none of your business how they process that. That's on them. That's their responsibility. You got to give them some responsibility. Give them their responsibility of learning how to regulate their own emotions. That's how you do it. Oh, I forgot. I didn't know. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? No emotions. It's a business transaction. I love it. That's it for the week. LOL. Yeah, it's usually a rough week if they do that. But you see, the bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. The rougher the week, the bigger the lesson. So you got to be willing, just as long as you stay calm through it all. Plus, when they've got media blackout or no media, say, hey, look, we got no media. How about we play a game? You always do it with them. So you use that to bond with them. Hey, we got no screens tonight. How about we play a game? No, I hate your guts. I hate you. Okay, never mind. An hour later when they've calmed down, ready for that game yet? You're always trying to connect with them. See, because you're the leader. You're calm. You love them. You're trying to bond with them. I don't care if they play the game or not. I can care less what they do. I only care what you do. Because I teach you leadership. We're not fixing kids. We're training you here. This calm leadership stuff, it's beautiful. Once you get it, once you get that respect cemented, you'll sail right through the teen years. Do you reward kids for doing chores? No freaking way. You live here, you clean up after yourself, you contribute to the household. I would never pay a child for doing chores. Never. Never. But they do get allowance. That's a separate thing, completely separate. If you want to know the difference, I've got a whole video. It was a big one too. I think I pinned it. It was a big one. I never know what people are going to look at. That one went viral, and I didn't see that one coming. Chores. That one. Yeah, the allowance versus chores. And I think I pinned it. That one, I did interviews all over the world, TV, radio, on that one video, which I thought was boring as anything. I do way better videos than that. Isn't that funny? I can't pick what people are going to like. I can't pick it. Sometimes I'll do a video and I go, oh, this one's gold. This one, people are going to love it. No one looks at it. Then I'll do another one. I think, oh, well, whatever. And that one will go viral. I can't figure it out. Anyway, the allowance versus chores was a really popular video. And it explains the difference. So timers are good too. I love timers. Timers, okay, it starts now. And then you're just waiting. Don't say a word. If you say, "Don't come on, you better be doing it," or else if you start talking like that, you're a loser. You're just a loser. That's the way they see you. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Whereas I'm just standing there looking at my watch. I'm just doing, might be flipping through a magazine, just waiting. Got the timer going. Beep. Okay, 10 minutes. Okay, that wasn't done. So 24-hour media blackout starts now. Remember, there's always the two consequences on the behavior board. The first one is the positive action. If they don't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation, the 24-hour media blackout, or something else like that. So if they won't do something, you take something away. And they'll learn. They don't want you to take stuff away. It'll get to that point. But if you've got one of these relationships with your kids, it's going to be at least 3 to 6 weeks before you start seeing results. It's hard work. Depends where you're coming from. If you're crawling out of the hole, it's going to take a while. Anything visual is a good tool. Anything that ticks or, they're great tools. Also, if it's 10 minutes, beep, time's up, then they come running in and start vacuuming. Say, well, you don't have to do that now because it's 24-hour media blackout starts. But I am doing it. I remember it was within 10 minutes. 10 minutes is up now. So it's 24-hour media blackout. And be prepared for an ugly scene. Embrace it. There's the lesson right there. If you get upset and you go on and start talking and start defending yourself, you've lost. I'm not discussing it. I didn't know. I thought of it. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? I'm not discussing it any further. And I would shut down that conversation. As soon as they've calmed down, you want to play a game? I hate you. I hate you. Okay, never mind. An hour later, ready for that game yet? See, you're always calm, trying to engage with them. You're taking the high road. You're classy. That's class, right? Yeah, let them roll in the mud. Don't get in the mud with them. My mother, if I ever acted out or anything, I could still remember my mother. This would be my mom. She'd say something like this. If I was ever doing something stupid or silly, or she would go like this. She'd go, "Are you kidding me with this?" And I would just be embarrassed because I hated that when my mom just looked at me like I was nuts. So embarrassing. Are you kidding me with this? Oh, never mind. Because I looked up to my mom. She was my leader. And that's what my kids were like too. Like I would just go, "Oh, really? Is that the choice you're making right now? You're going to continue on with that?" No, never mind. So that's what you want. You want to get there. And then you just end up laughing at it. Like they're laughing with you too. I'll tell you why you don't reward for chores. You don't want your kid growing up and in a partnership and expecting a thank you from their partner every time they scrub a toilet. You see, you don't want that. You want to raise someone who would go into a relationship and be more considerate than that. You want to raise kids who know that it's up to them to clean up after themselves. Short and simple is better than explanations. The explanations, it's the explaining yourself. It's like, what is this like? It's like at adults too. I'm really good with bullying. Like I'm really good at dealing with it. And this is a form of bullying. When someone says something like this to you, if you say, no, I don't really want to do that. Why don't you want to do that? Now, if they said that to me, they're asking me to defend myself because I don't feel like doing something. I'd say, "You want me to explain myself to you? Really?" And then they look embarrassed. Like, I'm not explaining I don't need to explain why I don't want to do something. I'm 62 years old. If I don't want to go somewhere and do something, no means no, right? So just shut it right down. Don't explain yourself. It makes you look weak. And it gives that other person, the bully, it's sort of a bully's mecca is when you start explaining yourself. Bullies go in for the jugular. And bullying, controlling behavior, those bossy people, they go in for the jugular if you start explaining yourself. I used to have this person I knew years and years ago, and I didn't have this figured out back then. And this was a long time ago. And this was a person who was why would you do that? How come you don't do it? I just do it like this. You know what? I couldn't figure out how to deal with them. They were so intrusive and so always asking me to explain myself. Do you know what I started saying with that person? The first time I said it, she literally went like this. She didn't know what to do. She said, "Why would you do that?" And I said, "Crazy Lisa," with a smile on my face. She literally went like that. I know, and I stopped explaining myself. She never bullied me again, never tried to, never asked me to explain myself ever again. So that's like when a kid says, "But what about this?" But and you know they already know. It's on the behavior board. They already understand all this stuff. Don't treat them like they're morons. So they already understand it. That's why if a kid keeps coming at me, "But you said," but I would say, "Well, you'll know next time, won't you?" Like have an ender like that. Just say, "I'm not discussing it anymore." And that's it. Pull away. Pull away. My God, you were gorgeous. Aren't you adorable? Actually, it's funny because I'm on YouTube at the same time. I look just like I do on YouTube, and YouTube has no filters. TikTok has an automatic filter. Evidently, I've tried to turn it off because I definitely look better on here than I do in person. And YouTube's pretty representative of how I really look. And I've tried to turn it off because in my business, looking old and haggy is a benefit. So, looking old gives me more clout. So yeah, I tried to figure out how to turn off the filter because I don't like to look, I like to look worse than better for my business. Oh, that's funny. But thank you very much. That's very sweet. Okay. Okay, how do I get my 15-month-old to stop hitting me? That is still a baby. 15 to 16 months old is still a baby in my books, and it's just consistent corrective action. And every time they hit, you say no, and you put their hand away, and then you get up and leave. They will eventually learn. Did I say clout? Did I actually use that word? Clout. When did I use that? I probably did. I just don't remember. I don't remember using that word. It's not a word I normally use. Okay. I really kind of want to tell the pool story here again. No one's asked me anything about that, but it just has so many, it has so many lessons in it. And it's just such a positive story, but I dealt with some negative behavior in a really good way. So I'm going to tell the pool story. It's my absolute favorite story to explain my feeling about what a leader is when it comes to parenting and dealing with children. This is how I do it. This is a perfect example of being a leader. Anyway, true story. My son was 8. We had a pool in the backyard. He had 5 friends over for his birthday party. So we had a big blow-up pool toy called Whaley. Huge thing. 3 kids could have drowned behind him. So the rule was Whaley can't come in the pool. We didn't have a pump. We had to blow it up just manually. So I didn't want to take the air out. So I just put him off to the side. Now these kids were 8. They were old enough to understand. I said, by the way, I can't see behind Whaley. I'm here on my own. All I'm doing is counting heads. Whaley cannot go in the pool. Sure enough, one kid pulls Whaley. And I knew all these kids. I was always at school helping out. So, and they knew me too. Anyway, so he pulled Whaley in the pool. And I said to him, I want Whaley out of the pool now. And he said to me, no. My son, I looked over at my son, it was right beside him, and my son just went like this because he knew there was going to be a show. So anyway, I was in the pool like that, and I had that kid, and I was fully clothed in summer clothes, but anyway, and I had that kid out sitting beside me. My son got Whaley out of the pool. Anyway, so and I said, okay, you're going to sit beside me for 10 minutes now. And I said, okay, 10 minutes starting now. So anyway, then I started talking to him. And I just started talking about school, about how I saw him. He got a goal in soccer or something. I don't know. I was just talking, asking him about what games he liked, what he likes to do. So I said, okay, 10 minutes is up. You can go back in the pool. He kept talking to me. He didn't even want to get back in the pool. And I'm still counting 5 heads and him. And I got rid of him. I said, okay, go back in the pool now. Have fun. Your friends are waiting for you. Like, get lost. It's so funny. He goes back in the pool. He could not have bent over more trying to please me the rest of the day. Now, what did I do there? Why did I not say, please take Whaley out of the pool in the first place? Because he had already gone that other level. It was a dangerous situation with Whaley in there. I said, I want Whaley out of the pool now. Very clear and very serious, right? Then he said no. So I took action right away, got him out of the pool. And then I didn't talk about what he did wrong. Why would I do that? Why would I berate him negative and remind him about that rotten thing he just did and how rude he was to me? He already knows. I used that 10 minutes to bond with him and set myself up as a leader. I bonded with him. I made him feel good about himself rather than make him feel bad about himself. If I made him feel bad about himself, guaranteed he would have pulled Whaley in the pool again. Guaranteed. If I'd get, now you shouldn't have done that. You know, you shouldn't have done that. We want to have a safe pool in here. Oh, God, boring. Anyway, so I'm just talking about soccer and everything, what games he likes. Then why, when I said go back, okay, it's time's up, you can go back in the pool now. Why did I not say I did not say don't pull Whaley in. I didn't remind him of the bad thing he did. I'm focusing on the good kid. I made him feel good about himself. He could not be nicer to me the rest of the day. Not only did he not take Whaley in, he's like my shadow, helping me with the cake, helping me with everything. He was like getting on my nerves, actually. But he was all over me because he wanted to please me, because he liked himself when he was, this is a kid who was always in a lot of trouble at school. He didn't get a lot of liking. He just was a difficult kid. But he wanted to please me because now all of a sudden I'm a leader. And he feels good about himself. Leaders make people feel good about themselves. He already knew what he did wrong. He never did it again. Guaranteed if I'd gone on about what he did wrong, he would have done it again. Guaranteed. I knew that kid. I knew he would have. So, but anyway, that's a leader. That's my definition of leadership. Did I always do it that well? No, that was just a good one. I just pull out the good examples for you. But that was a good one. So, but do you get it? Do you get the power in this stuff? You get the power in having a kid who's that disruptive. He was difficult in school. That's why I worked with him at school. He was just a difficult kid. Like he had some issues. Anyway, but you see the benefit of setting yourself up as a leader? It just makes everything so easy. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. Yeah, but then I couldn't get rid of him. He just wanted to hang around me for the rest of the day. Anyway, the funny thing is when his mom came to pick him up, he was rotten to her again. Because he felt rotten. He was living up to her expectation of him. Whereas my expectation was, you're a great kid. You see? So they live up to how you treat them. But I deal with the bad behavior. Oh, you're new to my page. Welcome. Most people here are regulars. I know that because I recognize the names. And I know when I get new people, because I get tons of people signing up for the behavior board. That's when I know I got a whole bunch of new people, because the regulars don't sign up for the behavior board because they already have it, right? So that's why I keep my email open. I can tell how many new people I've got on here by how many people are signing up for the behavior board. Like I did a live, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and I got like I don't know, 100 or 200 people signed up for the behavior board. So I knew those 200 people were new to the live. Why am I telling you that? It's just boring. You don't care about that. But anyway, that's nice I like getting new people. Spread the word, eh? I like to spread the word about leadership. You're new here too. Welcome. If you want to go on my website, you can sign up for my behavior board. That's all free. Teaches you how to give respect to get it, because you're on that too. That's what makes the difference. Okay. Gold, loving these examples more and more. I got another story. I've got lots of stories that I tell. The pool story is by far my favorite. My second favorite is the swing story. The mall story I don't really like as much. It's okay. It's a good one. I always get mad when I talk about that one, though. I don't know why. Yeah, I'll tell you the vomit story. There's no lesson in this whatsoever. It's just a funny story about I have a fear of vomit. I don't so much anymore. I don't know why. I went through menopause and I kind of outgrew a lot of stuff, and nothing really seems to faze me anymore. You get old, you just don't care about stuff anymore. Not the same petty stuff. Anyway, I don't throw up. I just don't throw up. So, and I have a fear of it because I never do it. I remember once I did it when I was 18. I had food poisoning and I threw up. And then I threw up once before, I think. But anyway, so I never do it. And luckily, my kids were not pukers. Anyway, it's kind of a funny story, but just hear me out. This is my worst mothering moment ever. Where I literally could have adopted my kids out. I just thought, I'm not fit to be a mother. And you'll understand why in a minute. Anyway, stomach flu was going around. And usually when we got it, we just got a little bit of the downstairs part of it. We never got this. And so sure enough, I think my daughter had it first, and my husband at the time was home. And I was good at cleaning up the mess, but it's the action I can't handle. So he was holding her while she was getting sick, and then I'd run around cleaning it up. So that's the way it worked. Well, then he went away on business, my husband, and it was just me and the kids. And I thought, oh, finally, we're through with this. My son and I didn't get it. I wasn't feeling very well. It was Friday night. I wasn't feeling very well. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to get the stomach flu. I didn't end up throwing up, but I felt really nauseous. And it was about 9 o'clock at night. The kids were in bed. And I heard my son say from his bedroom, Mom, my stomach hurts. He woke up. He'd never just woke up like that. And I knew he was going to be sick. But he'd never thrown up before. I didn't know, he was 8. I didn't know how to do it. So he was pure white. And I walked him into the bathroom. And I just said, okay, so you get sick into the toilet. You're supposed to get a bucket under their head, right? I didn't know that. So anyway, but I couldn't be there. He was in the bathroom. I was around the corner, and I put my hand around where he could see it. And I said, Mommy's here, because I couldn't look. What a lousy mother. I would have passed out. I thought, I can't look. I can't be there when he's throwing up. So then I heard the action happening, and it was everywhere. And I couldn't look. I could just hear it hitting everywhere. And then he said, oh no. And I had to look. He started to pass out. He started falling down. I had to run through the slop and pick him up, covered in it. I'd already got the sheets quickly on the leather couch. So I had to get him on the couch, and then I had to clean us both up and everything. But it was just an absolute nightmare. And I called my friend in tears, and all her kids, we all got it together. Her kids were all throwing up that night. She goes, oh yeah, just a bunch of bowls and buckets, no big deal. I was sobbing on the phone. Then I called my mom in Canada in the middle of the night to tell her, see, we all have lousy parenting moments. That was my worst parenting moment. Mommy's here, my hand waving from around the corner. What a wuss, eh? Anyway, so I did catch him when he fell, but it was just my worst moment. I was traumatized. Absolutely traumatized. I just felt like running away. Isn't that what a baby, eh? It's kind of embarrassing, but that was my worst parenting moment ever. I couldn't be there. My poor little 8-year-old son getting sick, and I couldn't even hold him while he was doing it. Oh, horrible. Advice for terrible twos. I have a whole playlist on my TikTok here, and it has toddlers. You might want to look that up. And toddlers are not about words. You can't use the behavior board on them. They're consistent corrective actions right in the moment, because they learn through repetition. They don't learn through words. It's repetition, and it's actions. So that's the toddler's world. Teach them in their world, not in yours. You know what I can't stand is when someone says, oh, the behavior board, it's on my website. It teaches you how to give respect to get it. Teaches you how to have a rule and a consequence. You're on there too. There's a rule for you too. What was I just saying before that? Toddlers. Shoot, I forgot. I lost my train of thought because I was looking at this. Yeah, the behavior board I invented that. I've been teaching now, coaching for 17 years. And the first year I've never used a behavior board. So I was sort of teaching what I do. I don't teach what I do anymore. I teach what you need to hear, because I'm a level 10 with what I teach. So I learned how to start you at level 1, level 2, level 3. And the behavior board, I invented that, changed everything. I invented that 16 years ago, and I haven't changed it in 16 years. It's a rule and a consequence for everybody in the whole family, except under 3. And so there's a rule for everybody, different rule for everybody. Yeah, it's free on my website, bratbusters.com. So, yeah, no one's downloaded that yet. Oh, silly me. I turned off the notifications. Let me just check. That's why. 2 weeks ago, I turned it off, so I thought it's all regulars now. I know exactly how many people had downloaded. Oh, yeah, but 1,000 people have downloaded it in the last week. Last 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. I turned off the notifications. My bad. See how dopey I am with this stuff? Anyway, that's why I'm not getting the emails, because I thought, why am I not getting emails telling me? Because I turned it off. Behavior board, tons of people are using it. You can do that on your own. It's a very tiny part of what I do, but it's the start. It's like you put a rule and a consequence for everybody on there. Each week it's a different one. You go to 3. You only do 3 of them. So by the end of 3 weeks, you'll have 3 different rules, 3 different behavior boards up on the wall. And that teaches you how to be a calm leader. That's all it is. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents here, because the kids' behavior is just a direct result of your parenting. Has nothing to do with them. Their behavior is all you. So if you're a leader, you lead and they will follow. And you can be crazy and fun. You want to have fun with your kids. You want to enjoy them. So you're crazy and fun, but when you're disciplining, my son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run. That's what I'm disciplining. I'm all goofy, running around chasing them like with underpants on my head. I was a real goofball. And but if they ever acted out, those underpants came off, and I go, tell you what we're going to do. And they go, oh, shoot, fun's over. So yeah, I get real quiet and businesslike when I'm disciplining, just quiet. And it teaches you how to calm down. It gives you another thing to do. Rather than yelling, it gives you something else to do. Most parents yell. What, you have an app? No, I don't have an app. Do you start 3 more or only 3? Okay, only 3. Okay. It's sort of like, how do I explain this? Not to you, but to me. Well, I'll tell you the course. Here's how I got the whole course laid out. I have a course on this, on how to be a calm leader. And I'll tell you how things work really well in coaching. I base the course off coaching, which I've been doing for 17 years. It's 5 weeks long. So I'll explain the behavior board to you. The course is 5 weeks. Each week you get a different lesson and group coaching. The first week is the first behavior board. And I throw a bunch of other stuff in there too. The second week is the second behavior board. The third week is the third behavior board. By that time, you've learned how to set a rule, how to be accountable yourself, how to respect your kids. You're starting to get some respect. Then week 4 and week 5, you still got the behavior boards, but you're not relying on them anymore. You only go to 3. Then you do in the moment discipline. It's just in the moment. Hey, I didn't like that. Here's what we're going to do. Or I didn't like that. We'll discuss it after dinner. Do you understand? So you're doing in the moment discipline. That's kind of a next level. You can't go there until you've got those 3 behavior boards mastered. That's the start. It's like the first step in getting you prepared for in the moment discipline. You can't just do in the moment discipline right away. That's the next level. So I can't teach that. You got to pay for that. Like, that's a different level. You got to go through those 3 behavior boards. The thing is, once you've done those 3 behavior boards, if they're not working, there's a reason. That's why we do the Zoom coaching too. Because if they're not working, it's like, oh, that's why it's not working. You're doing this or you're doing that. So we tweak them and change them as we're going along. We perfect them. But that's the next level. You have to hire me for that stuff, either in a course or private coaching. But the behavior board, lots of people are getting great results just doing that on their own. If your problems aren't that big, then yes, you can do that on your own with the behavior board, all by yourself. You don't need my help. But if you really want to set yourself up as a calm leader, that's just the next level. Because a whole bunch of other stuff comes into it. Tons of other stuff. The behavior board, I would say, is about 10% of what I teach. Just gets you going. It's kind of like starting the engine. And then the body language is so important. How you talk, how you act, your tone of voice. Yeah, all that other stuff comes into it. I never used a behavior board. I invented that because I thought, why are people not getting this? And I always blame myself, like a leader. I thought, why are people not getting this? What am I doing wrong? And it was because I was starting them on level 10. And the behavior board is level 1, then level 2, then level 3. That's what that is. That's the first 3 steps in learning calm leadership. Anyway. You've helped me so much already in your videos. You've been here a lot, Emily. Yeah, thanks. The videos, that's why I do I don't get paid anything on TikTok. They don't pay, in Canada, they don't pay anything. I'm here because most people either can't afford to hire me, or they don't want to, or they, whatever. So, but I still want to make a difference in the world, and I truly do. I want to make I want everyone to sail through parenting like I did. I want you all to have fun like I did. I want you to get all this leadership stuff cemented so that you can sail right through the teen years. And that's what I want. So in order to do that, I have to keep putting all this stuff out here for free. And I really put a lot into this because it's important to me that I get the message out. And I've got to run a business on the side, or else I wouldn't be able to do this if I couldn't also make money doing it. But that's for people who want to hire me. Okay. Isn't that funny that I turned off the notifications? I'm like, oh, it must be all regulars because no one's downloading it. That's exactly the kind of dopey stuff I do on a regular basis. So dopey. I do stuff like that all the time. It's like when I'm saying something in in my personal life, I'm really dopey sometimes, and I'll say, "I would never do that." Oh, my daughter, this was hilarious. The other day on my personal channel, she said, "Wouldn't it be?" Or she said she was mimicking me, and she goes, because she always says I get real loose lips and I talk about everything personal, and I don't, but I still talk about more than I should. So, because I just start yabbing like you're my friends, right? So this is in my other channel. It's a small one. It's just my yabber old lady one, and she goes, yes, and another thing that I wanted to talk about was this, and I said, "Oh, I would never do that." She goes, "You did. Here's the video." I thought she was just teasing me. I had to delete this video. I talked about everything I said I would never talk about. It was all this really personal stuff. It was about her. "Oh, I would never do that. Here's the video, Mom. It's exactly what you did." "Oh, never mind." Don't. Oh God, we're still laughing at that one. Anyway. Parenting's easy. Everything else, I'm dopey as anything. So funny. Uh, oh, I would never talk about that. Okay. He doesn't care about me taking things away or anything. I just did a video on that. What if they don't care about anything? I just did a video. I think it was yesterday. So check that one out. It goes into detail about that. Oh, I didn't like that video. Watch it anyway. Yeah, that was when you invent leverage. I don't like doing it, but it's a last resort. Anyway, check out the video. It's if they don't care about anything, you invent leverage. I don't like it. People hate it too, but a lot of clients have had to do that, and it does work. But you got to be very careful how you do it because it can be construed as mean, and you're not canceling what you've invented, but you're postponing it. So keep that in mind, and you'll see when you watch the video. 16-year-old has come home twice in a row, 3 hours late. What would you, good consequence? I don't know your relationship, so I can't give you one. You don't discipline teenagers until you get some leadership cemented. You can't. You got to get respect first to discipline a teenager. So I can't give you an answer to that. Does that make sense? I don't know your relationship. You have to, like, when I'm hired to work with parents of teenagers, the first 2 weeks is just bonding with them, just starting to get some respect. By week 3, we start to discipline. But it's a whole process. Are your videos on YouTube? No, they're not. But the lives are. The lives I'm recording right now. Do you ever move in with family? No. How do you stay calm? Oh, okay. I'm just going to read a YouTube comment here from Mindy. I get mad. How do you stay calm? I get mad these days. My son's 7. My son's 7, and yesterday he lied. He threw his sandwich in garbage and says he still never did. Yeah, just put down on the behavior board, no lying. Stay calm as anything and just have a consequence for lying. So you got to go about this like it's a business transaction. All discipline is business, no emotions. If you bring emotions into it, it doesn't work. It tanks. Um, You've asked this before. I'm pretty sure it was you. 12 and 10-year-olds sneaking food. Food insecurity is not an issue. Yeah, I'm amazed how often that comes up in coaching. And it's there's not a standard answer for that. I got to figure out why they're doing it. There is not a standard answer for why they sneak food. Um, so, yeah, I'd have to assess that situation. But it comes up more than I would think it does. And I don't know why, but it's getting more common than it used to be, is food sneaking and hiding and hoarding food. It's getting more common in, I would say, in the last few months. Isn't that weird? Why would that be? Why would it be? I can go a couple of years without hearing about it at all. And then just in the last few months, I've had several clients with that issue. So, but it's different for each one too. He's 3 though, and I don't know if he understands. Um, was there a pre-question to that? Don't know if he understands. You mean the behavior board? Make it so he does understand it. He's 3 years old. They can understand it at 3 years old. But you got to make it really clear. And you use pictures. Like your rule is usually no yelling. Most parents yell. The odd time I'll get a client who doesn't yell, it throws me right off. I always say, okay, so your rule, do you yell? And I'm always ready to put no yelling as their rule. And they go, no, we don't yell. I'm like, oh, it throws me off because most parents do yell. So yeah, make it really easy and draw a picture of you yelling and then an X through it and say, see, I can't yell. If I yell, that's my rule, no yelling. So yeah, make it understandable. And don't pick the big stuff. When you're doing those behavior boards on your own, especially, make it doable. Make it a battle you know you can win. Don't start with the big stuff. That's week 3. Start with the small stuff in week 1, and 1 rule per week. The next week, you've got 2 rules now. The new rule, you can make it the same or a little bit harder depending where you're at. Then the 3rd week, you can do something a little bit harder. And then the in the moment discipline is when the big stuff usually starts to happen. That's that week 4 stuff. But that's not on the behavior board. You gotta, I can't tell you how to do that so much because you gotta master those behavior boards first. It's just training you how to calm down and do this, training you how to start to be a leader. And then the in the moment discipline is when you've got some of that going already. Do you start the behavior training with a 2-year-old? No, the behavior board is for 3-year-old and up. Under 3 years old, like a 1 and a 2-year-old, it's consistent corrective actions. So it's all like no, and then you take something away or remove them from the situation, but you got to do it every single time. Because the one time you forget, they're just going to remember that. They remember everything you do wrong. Kids are hilarious. They'll be like 20 years old and they'll remember everything you ever did wrong. What about what I did right? And they'll go, what? It's really funny. My son's great at that, and I always one of his things was one of his jokes is I used to say I'm great at apologizing because I am. I'm very good at it. Like I'm very accountable. So if I do something wrong, I'm very good at apologizing. And what can I do to make it up to you, making amends? And I always say I'm really good at apologizing, and he always says that's because you've had so much practice at it. Smarty pants. But yeah, you got to be accountable. It's a free course on our website. The behavior board is free. Yes, it always will be. The behavior board. It's always been free. It always will be. Um, the coaching and the courses teach you more in depth how to use it. I would say the behavior board is probably 10% of the whole picture, but it's a good start. And some people get results just by using that and watching these videos. A big part of it is body language. Like when you're disciplining, like I talk like this. If I'm disciplining a kid, I talk like this. Tell you what, I didn't like that. So this is what we're going to do. And then like say, okay, you're going to help me do that later on. Okay, do you understand? Okay, great. Then you go back to normal. And then later on you have them help or whatever. But it's always like I'm kind of thinking about it. Okay, I didn't like what you just did. And I don't say, that was bad. That was naughty. I don't talk like that. I don't berate them. I just don't berate them. It would be like getting a speeding ticket. It's naughty to speed. It's naughty. They just say, do you know why I pulled you over? And then say, okay, so we're going to have to give you a ticket today. They don't berate you. They just give you a ticket. Like I just hand out a discipline, but I don't berate them about what they did wrong. It's kind of mean. What do you mean by being a leader? Being a leader is you're your children's leader. They need, crave, and want leadership. They're desperate for it. If you don't provide it, they're going to go out and search for it. They're going to look to a bully, a peer, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to instinctively go looking for a leader elsewhere. You want to be the leader. You're the person that they turn to. You're the person that makes them feel good about themselves. You're the person that guides them in the right direction. Okay. So a leader, this is my idea of a leader. You make them feel great about themselves. You focus on the good kid. You deal with the bad behavior. It's very quick, get it over with. And then you focus on the good kid. You make them feel good about themselves. You're the source of that. Therefore, they want to please you as the leader. And it's a mutual respect thing. And then when they're teenagers, you're shooting for them just not wanting to disappoint you. You don't want teenagers wanting to please you. That's ridiculous. You want them to be their own leaders, pleasing themselves. You're just there for backup. And you want them to tell you everything. And they will. If you're a good leader, you listen to understand and then shut up. Too many parents listen. They go, okay, here's what you do with that. And they're not going to talk to you. The best number one parenting skill with pretty much all ages is listening. And you listen to understand, and then you keep your mouth shut. Too many parents take that information and use it to lecture with. They're going to shut you out. They're not going to tell you anything when they're teenagers. Do you know the most common complaint that I get, kids, is my parents don't listen to me? The number one complaint I get from parents is my kids don't listen to me. Everyone's talking, no one's listening. You got to work on your listening skills. So you listen to understand and show empathy. So you go, yeah, that would be frustrating. Yeah, I can see that. If they want your advice, they're going to ask you for it. When I used to go to my mom was great at all this stuff. And I used to go to her and I would say, Mom, what should I do? I've got this problem. She'd go, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. She never told me what to do. She was a great sounding board. My mom was the best listener in the world. And I told her everything. And my kids told me everything. It's trust, right? So that's a leader, is being a really good listener and respect their opinion. If you're not learning from your children, you're missing out big time. They're going to teach you stuff. Think about it this way. They're really smart. They're smarter than you because they don't have the experience and the wisdom, but they're smarter than you in that their brains are working at peak capacity when I think they start going downhill at 18 or something. They start losing brain cells, but they're really, really, you're never going to outsmart them. So pay attention because their brains are working at a high capacity and they're seeing the world more objectively than you are. They don't have your history. They don't have your habits. They don't have all your damage, all your baggage. We all have that, right? So they don't have any of that. So you pay attention to how they're interpreting the world. You'll learn a lot. And it's wonderful. Learn from your kids. They definitely changed me. I would say the kids who changed me the most were the troubled teens I worked with. They brought out patience I didn't know I had. And so, yeah, they taught me more about life than I would say anybody ever did, was the troubled teens I worked with. My mom always told me she can't tell me what to do. I have to decide myself with my own head and heart. Yeah, stuff like that. Exactly. I used to say to my kids, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So, what do you think you should do? I always said, what do you think you should do? And they'd say, well, what I was thinking was, and I'd say, well, that sounds good. What I might have done is this, but your idea sounds better. They often had a better idea than I did. So, yeah, you want to encourage them to think for themselves. Do you have kids? Me? Do I have kids? Really? Yeah. Is that for me? Yeah, I have kids. I wouldn't be teaching this if I wasn't a mother. No way. If you haven't lived with teenagers and finished the job, I wouldn't feel right about teaching this. Um, yeah, my kids got my grandkid due in December, my first grandchild too. There's two things. If you're going to take parenting advice, two things you want to look out for from the source. If you're going to I've never read a book or anything on parenting, but if you're going to, look for these two criteria in the author or the coach or whoever you're going to look to. Number one is, have they finished the job? Have they lived with their own teenagers and raised them right into adulthood? So you can't teach parenting until you've done that. Like, that's a whole other level. You got to know what leads you into that, and so you can sail through it, right? So that's one criteria. The other one is, I didn't learn a lot from my own kids. They were easy because I got respect when they were little. That person should have experience with hundreds of other kids with all sorts of challenges that, hundreds of other kids with every challenge out there you can think about. It's experience based. It's just wisdom based. I didn't learn this from reading about it. I learned it from the kids. The kids taught me all this stuff. And they're the ones who told me I should teach this. They said, you got to teach this, Lisa. Because no one else talks to kids like you do. And that they told me to do this. So those are two things really, really important. Has that person finished the job with their own kids? Because what may work with a young child can often backfire down the road. So, and they wouldn't know that unless they've already raised their own kids, right? And plus they might just have really easy kids. You got to have experience with hundreds of kids out there. I would feel very irresponsible teaching this if I didn't have that. Because it is so experience-based. I've only been thrown off, I would say teenage stuff can be challenging, yes, but I've only been thrown for a loop in the last year, I would say once. And it was really something I hadn't come across. It was very, very rare. So we came up, the most phenomenal parents came up with just this plan on how to deal with it. But it wasn't a horrible thing. It was just something that I hadn't heard of before. And that was really exciting for me. And then it was challenging for me. But yeah, you don't want to be working with someone who hasn't seen pretty much everything. So, but I'm sure there's lots of other people out there like that too. I'm not blowing my own horn here. I'm saying watch out because there's a lot of really bad information out there. And but yeah, make sure it's someone who's really heavily experience based because you can't really go wrong if they are. Or you can, I guess, but and there's lots of different styles. My way is just one way. Also, don't pick and choose what you like from different parenting experts. Because you can't say it's like dieting. You can't say I'm going to pick that thing from that person and that thing from that, and I'm going to mix it all up together. It doesn't work that way. It all is meant to be worked as a package. Like if you were to throw timeout into my method, it would tank. I hate timeout. I think it's really disrespectful and mean. I hate it. So you can't mix. You got to pick a path. If you like my path, pick it for 3 weeks and go with it, 3 to 6 weeks. Someone else, pick their path and stick with just them. Do not do that shopping around, right? It's just not like that. It doesn't work well that way. You cannot mix and match different parenting methods unless they're meant to go together. It's just the way it is. Because I see people say, well, I liked your methods, but then I put time out in and then it didn't work. Now, well, yeah, because you use time out with my methods and they're not going to work that way. I hate time out. I can't stand it. Girl that could possibly have ADHD. This is all based on kids who I call them alphabet kids. I learned all this from alphabet kids who had ADHD, ODD, WXYZ. This is what I learned. This is that kid in the pool. He had ADHD. That's the pool story. That kid had ADHD. And I'll tell you, his mother medicated him before she took him home, but she didn't give him any pills when she dropped him off at my place. So yeah, he had ADHD. This is where I learned all this. I didn't learn it with my easy kids. I learned this with all those kids out there who had all that stuff. It's just calm, patience, works beautifully. So don't worry about that because you're going to be the same parent no matter what. Parents diagnose. Okay. No, I'm not going to go down that track. Yeah, don't worry too much about that. Get a diagnosis if you want, which is, if that's important to you, but you still want to be a calm leader anyway. Yeah, mix and matching, just don't do it. If you're not sure, if you you just got to pick one that feels right to you and go down, but give it 3 to 6 weeks, okay? You have to give it some time. And by the way, if you're using my methods, because I am very confrontational with kids, I allow them to have a tantrum and work stuff out on their own. They're going to fight back hard. But you want that. You want to go through that storm to get to the rainbow. There's no way of avoiding it and easing into it and trying to please them. That's just, hate all that stuff. Yeah, you've got to just say, hey, I'm the leader here and this is what's going to happen. And it's just the way it is. Do you have a book? No, I hate writing. One day I'll do one. I'll get a ghostwriter to do it. Well, are you familiar with sensory seeking, avoiding occupational therapy? I don't know what you mean by avoiding occupational therapy. Seeking. Sensory avoidance? You mean, I don't know what you mean by that exactly. I deal with kids with all sorts of challenges though. So I used to work in volunteer in hospitals and yeah, I did that. Geez, God, that was 40 years ago now. Wow. I was doing that. Here I was, 20-year-old girl, could have been out partying and that. And every Sunday and Tuesday night, I was in this hospital holding severely handicapped children. And I did that twice a week for years. I was different. Okay, good question, but I'm not going to answer it. Do you believe children that are severe ADHD should take medications? I'm not a doctor. I don't have an opinion on that at all. At all. You are my people. Oh, that's nice. What kind of consequences would you use for 6-year-old? Remember on that behavior board, there's always 2 consequences. You start with the positive action. If they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. They're both written on the behavior board. So positive action would be if they do something, you have them do an act of kindness for you. That could be brushing your hair. I love having my hair brushed. I've never had anyone in my whole life, except I have one cousin who liked brushing hair. I love having my hair brushed. No one in my whole life has ever liked it. So if my kids forgot something or whatever, it's okay, brush my hair for 5 minutes. And they're like, oh, great. And they have to brush my hair for 5 minutes. So it could be something that simple. It could be an act of kindness towards you. Or they can mop the kitchen floor, or they can fill up the dishwasher after dinner. They can make your bed. They can, it's usually a chore, usually something like that, like an act of kindness. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that they hate, but it's still teaching them how to do an act of kindness if they break a rule. And then if they won't do that, say, okay, that's fine. You had 10 minutes to do that. 10 minutes is up now, so 24-hour media blackout starts now. No, I'll do it now. Well, it's too late. Well, I didn't know, and blah, blah, blah. I say, well, you'll know next time, won't you? So it's happening. Like, that's just the way you do it. The only time I ever did because I always say never do never threaten, like an empty threat, because it's a form of lying. And one time, it wasn't an empty threat, but oh my God, I was so stupid. A friend and I were taking our kids down to Dream World in Australia because we lived in Brisbane. And it's an hour's drive. We had separate cars because we had car seats and everything. So we met down there. My son was 4, I think. And yeah, I think he was 4 because I was pregnant. Anyway. And so he just had a miserable look on his face. He just looked like he didn't want to be there. And I said to him, if you don't put a smile on your face, we're going home right now. And as soon as I said it, my friend went, oh no, because she knew when I said something, it's going to happen. As soon as it was out of my mouth, I'm trying to pull it back in. And my son knew me when I said something was going to happen. And he went like this, put a phony smile on it, and then he turned into a real smile. But that was I would have driven home. It wouldn't have been an empty threat. But that was the only time I said something and I thought, gee, that was stupid. So as soon as I said it. But yeah, make sure that if you're going to say something, think it through. If you don't know what to say in the moment, say, I'll tell you what, I didn't like what you just did. I'm going to think about it and we'll discuss it later. And then give them a time. Say, we'll discuss it after school or whatever. So give them a set time when you're going to discuss it. So if you don't know the answer in the moment, you defer it. You say, we'll discuss it later. What's it going to be? I said, we'll talk about it later. If they keep at you, say, I'll tell you what, if you keep at me, I'll make it even worse. So anyway, there's always a way. Anyway, I got to go. I've been talking for an hour and 32 minutes now. Once I get on here, it's really relaxing for me. It's my favorite thing to do in my business is coaching. And this coaching is number one because you're on video and you can talk back at me, right? I love that. And this is my second favorite. So I'm still talking to parents. It's my favorite thing in my business. Coaching isn't as relaxing because they're paying me for results, whereas this is more just meditation. I just love doing this. So I'm really grateful that you turn up. I just absolutely love doing these lives, and I hope that I'm helping you in some way because that's why I'm doing it. I don't get paid for this. I just do it because I love helping you. I love spreading the word about calm leadership. Anyway, my website is bratbusters.com. Everything's on there. My new course is on there now. It has group coaching. It's a 5-week course if you want to be a calm leader for your kids. And private coaching is still there. And my behavior board's always there, and it's free. Anyway, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.